broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mad Men After Show here on AFTERBUZZ TV. I love that drum solo. Yes. Hey everybody, this is Matt Lieberman. We are doing Season 7, Episode 8, Severance. With me today, Mr. Joe Braswell's back.
Matthew Lieberman.
It's good to be back, sir. Back in the chairs, back where we should be. Mr. Isaac Johnson, who, if you've been following AFTERBUZZ TV, he's done a bunch of great shows. He does Banshee with me. He did Halt and Catch Fire with me. A whole bunch of stuff. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And I would call him more of a drum fill, personally, than a solo.
Oh, okay, well, that's because you're a musician and I'm not. Joe Sanfellipo, Sterling Cates, not here this week, but they will be returning to the podcast. Do not fret. What a fantastic episode. And I always forget how much I love Mad Men until it comes back, and it's that kind of like slow, thoughtful, methodical pacing that you don't get anywhere else. What did you guys think?
I love the world. I've always loved the world. I always forget how much you love the world until it's back in your life. Mm-hmm. Shame on you, AMC, for making us wait a year for the back half of these episodes, but that's the way it goes. It's just good to be back. It's like a nice warm sweater, with a big glass of cognac.
Does that sort of smell like cigarette smoke?
It's just
cheap perfume. Yeah.
I will say for both of you guys, as fans of Banshee, and there's been a lot of shows I've been watching that have been packed with plot, namely empires. It's a good polar opposite. Just
crazy
packed
soap.
With plot. Every hour has got 16 plot turns. It's good to get back to Mad Men, where it's just sort of really methodical and just sort of really lived in, and these characters so well. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really forget about how great it is, especially since I just binged the last season, last week when it hit Netflix.
Good for you.
So I haven't really forgotten much. But big fan of the show. It's such great drama and such good character development. And I really like the themes in this episode, just the life not lived and the sort of work versus life balance that some of the characters are going through there.
I agree, because the first half of the season was very much about Don reclaiming what he had lost at the end of season 6, but at the same time taking a step back. And I really we're going to contrast that to Ken in this episode. Sure. Mm-hmm. But basically, at the end of season 6, he had come so close to being an authentic person, to being his authentic self, sharing where he grew up with his kids.
Right.
And then he has just been dialing it back further and further and further until at this point, with only 7 episodes left to go, it's a very important and pointed question to ask. Mm-hmm. What am I doing here? Is this all there is? Yeah. Is this all there is? Mm-hmm. I have thrown away everything else in my life in search of these things that I keep coming back to: women, freedom, success, money, power, and yet I'm still miserable. Right. And I'm having dreams about this woman, the one who got away, who could have been the love of my life.
Rachel Katz.
And waking up to this woman, I bet he doesn't even know her name. Yeah. This woman in bed with him.
Yeah.
Not likely, no.
I mean, I wish that Flippo was here, because he is number one fan of Don boozing and palling around with women and
I'm gonna tell
doing
I'm
his
Joe Flippo. I love Don Draper.
Doing the Don thing. I love Don.
That's my Joe Flippo imitation.
It does not wear.
I can't.
I'm spot on.
Spot on. But it doesn't wear well here. Right. Even in that first scene where we open on this casting, he's got so much hair gel that it looks like he's graying on the sides.
Yeah, I want to say, back to the whole idea of the end of season 6 versus the beginning of season 7. I think it's interesting that Matthew Weiner said on numerous occasions that season 6 was it. Like, he was very much convinced that season 6 was it. So season 6 was written as the end. And I think there's another season, maybe 5 or 4, that was also written as the end. But season 6 was the end, and so he very much went into season 7, both of them, saying like, look, this is sort of an epilogue. So I mean, we can view this how we want to view it, whether it's a continuation of Don's story, what really happened. But this is sort of an epilogue as to what we've seen these last 6 seasons, and both the first half and the second half, he also was very particular in telling the writers in the writers' room that these are 2 separate seasons. So even though it's 14 episodes, I want to go back to this back half of this back 7 and start from scratch and treat them like they're 7 a second season, really. So it's almost like a 7.5 or a season 8 we're looking at. So to your point, where Don starts and where he goes, it's completely up for grabs. And I think this him circling back to where, to what's left, and like we said, like what's it's all about is something that really we're seeing, coming full circle.
Sure. Well, and also him kind of coming back to like the Don that whoever the impression that you just did was, I don't know.
Joe Flippo.
Yeah, that guy. Well, in that diner scene, the story that he's telling is a Dick Whitman story. That's not a Don Draper story.
Sure.
He's talking about the, I guess, whorehouse or wherever.
Yeah, that he grew up.
And that woman, probably Abigail, I think that he said was her name, that took his, I guess, virginity or something like that.
Sure.
But in her and in like the woman in the diner and even Rachel, like those are all like his type.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what won.
His mother and his stepmother and Abigail, they all look like that.
They all look alike, which is why I think he thinks he knows her, because he's even done that in another season where he, I forget what, there's like, I think
Midge,
school teacher or something.
Yeah,
and he's like, don't I know you from somewhere? And like, this is a thing that he's done before.
Well, I think that's a very, very key point, Isaac, because what Don is doing and what he has done, I think, his entire life, he's fascinated by women.
Right.
He does not understand them. He does not know how to handle them, how to treat them well at all. But the continual compulsive conquering of women is how he avoids dealing with anything else in his life. And now that he no longer has any kind of familial responsibility or any kind of marriage, anything to hide behind, now he's just pursuing it willy-nilly. He's got a secretary just to give him all of the calls of women who are after him.
This is the fully realized, Joe Sanfellipo-ized Don Draper we see at the beginning. And I want to say that opening sequence was, super sexy, by the way. Well done.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was just not just because the woman was super hot, but just in the way it was sort of unfolded, and
that sort of dreamlike feel, very tight shots of her face.
Is this happening in Don's office or bedroom? Is this a real encounter? And then the reveal to be full of an office full of men, like, all right, that was great. Next, it was kind of cool. But yeah, look. We can't forget that Don and the rest of his folks are rich now. They just got a gigantic payday.
Well, not Peggy.
Well, not Peggy. I'm sorry.
Peggy is not
Peggy's
rich.
not. But
Also not Harry.
Not
Yes,
Harry.
not Harry either.
But Don and Pete and Joan, rich, and so we kind of see in Ted, we sort of see this, like, these guys coming, sort of feeling their oats in a way that sort of, what do we do now? We're the ultimate, we've achieved everything.
Right, even Ted is like, hey, you gotta come to this Vogue party. Hemlines are going up.
Yeah.
So,
Like, what happened to the Ted who was torn between his wife and Peggy
That guy's
not even
long
2
gone.
seasons ago?
he was so Larry Dallas from Three's Company, like
What the
popping. He just like
hell?
rolled in with the like, hey, the hemlines are up.
These mustaches are
Yeah.
perfection.
And that's some cool, like, effective storytelling to just basically tell us it's the 70s now.
Yeah.
You got even the flowing locks of Stan. It's like, we're in a new era here.
But it's the Richard Nixon telecast that lets us know that it's April of 1970. We've
Absolutely.
skipped ahead 9 months.
Yeah, it's 10 months, I think, actually.
10 months?
Yeah.
A very sort of successful and a device that the show has done over the years to use these television casts or these historic moments on TV to let us know, like, oh, okay, it's April 1970, or oh, it's the moon landing.
No, it's 9 months because it was July of 1969.
I thought it was, okay.
It was July of 1969 to April of 1970.
Back to the fashion, I will say that it's been sort of like either highly anticipated or highly dreaded. I remember a couple of seasons ago, people talking about, are we going to see them in wide ties and sideburns and big mustaches? And I don't know if I want to see Don Draper and sideburns and da-da-da. Right. Well, guess what? We're here, and everyone's in mustaches and sideburns and wide ties, except for Don Draper.
He's impervious.
He's
I think there is one scene where he's wearing like a colored shirt versus a white shirt, and I think that's about as far fashion forward as he can go.
Yeah. There's Elvis Mitchell did a talk with Matthew Weiner on The Treatment. He talks to him about this very thing, and Elvis sort of says how Don and even John Hamm has said Don's sort of been behind the times and sort of, and Matthew was quick to point out that his style is sort of eternal. He's not really behind the times. He's sort of like he's above the trends.
Sure.
So he's being Don, and this is the guy who, in Playboy in 1970, this is the guy who you see flanked by a bunch of women. The guy in that tie. He's eternally the most sexy guy around. It's the same in 1962 as it is in 70, and frankly as it was in 1982. Yeah. So I mean that's kind of
in 1982 it's even sadder because I found it sad.
Sure, he's got skinnier ties and pushed up blazers, but
but that's the thing, right? He keeps obsessing over Rachel Menken, née Katz, or Katz née Menken. How does that work? I don't know. But obsessing over her and then obsessing over Di. And the more we come to learn about Don, the more pathetic the womanizing is to me. And this may upset some people, but I'm just going to say it. When he had his virginity taken by that prostitute at the whorehouse, I mean, that's statutory rape. Sure. I know no one wants to know. People do this double standard where it's a guy, so it's like he's the luckiest guy ever. He's not emotionally prepared for that. Right. He's had a terrible life, and you think about how all of the chief examples of women in his life up until he was an adult and he became Don Draper, all of them were flawed. His mother died during childbirth. His stepmother never forgot to remind him that he was a whore's son and that he was lower than dirt. And then the first woman to ever be kind to him takes advantage of him sexually. Sure. So he's got this ever-cycling, compulsive just whirlwind of need, sex, emptiness, need, sex, emptiness, and he doesn't have a true north. I love how this show has always used music, but this is the most pointed use of music maybe ever. Is that all there is? And I think it's the theme of the whole series.
Well, I think that his true north for a bit, I mean, the first few seasons, him searching for that true north, his true north for a bit was California and was sort of the reclaiming and the acceptance of the Dick Whitman life and the family in California. Yeah. But then, when the sister passed around that.
Yeah, when Anna Draper passed.
When Anna Draper passed, that was sort of like the melting of that true north, because it's sort of like, well, and that's when you see, like you mentioned, I think there's this fusion now of Don Draper and Dick Whitman. And I think that what we're seeing now is trying to him balance the acceptance of like, okay, well, I am Dick Whitman. I can accept this past. I'm Don Draper. How do I move forward with both these, with both pasts, and what does that mean?
You even have Roger sort of like chiming in about he likes to tell stories about when he was poor or something. So it seems like even Roger knows more about his past there. I mean, which I guess it came out before, but it's not something that he's openly talked about.
True. There's a lot of death imagery in this show, and there's a lot of it in this episode specifically. I mean, even the name Severance just gives me just the willies, because, you could call that the end of your life, cutting someone's throat, whatever. He's obsessing over a woman whose name is Di. Yeah. Di. Rachel Katz dies, and he goes to her Shiva. When that wine spills on the carpet, you've got this stewardess who spills wine, and it literally looks like a blood splatter of someone who just blew their brains out. So deliberate. And then rather than think about it or look at it, he just covers it up. Right. And that's what he's been doing his whole life. Anything that's a tragedy, there's no time to worry about it. Cover it up, feel some pleasure, move on.
Cover it up and drop a naked woman on top of it.
Perfect.
that's the Don Draper way.
Life, I think.
There's also a lot of language that has to do with like coming and going. There's a lot of talk of like takeoffs and layovers. He's actually got a physical stewardess in the dream. Rachel Menken says, "I'm supposed to tell you missed your flight."
Yeah, I was gonna ask because it was like I thought that was a dream or hallucination. At the same time, I was like, oh. I don't know.
The first time I watched it, I didn't think it was a hallucination.
Yeah, I didn't think so either,
and I was like,
then-
oh my God, she's back. That's a great development.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's far more cutting and painful and real that it was all a dream. Because if you remember, their chemistry was just so off the charts. She could have been the love of his life.
Sure, and she wanted to run away with him. She begged him to run off to California, was it? I mean, to run. And so, yeah, no, that was a little on the nose with the "you missed your flight," but it's sort of like, symbolic of this whole episode, which is the life not lived. From what Cosgrove says, and actually what we're seeing. And yeah, I mean, the idea of him missing that flight and missing that opportunity to go away with her. Now he's thinking of her and she's dead. It's the irony.
And on top of that, irony of ironies, here's someone who is so existentially lost, and he goes to this Shiva and he sees her kids, and Rachel's sister, flat out tells him like she got everything she wanted.
Yeah.
She had a good life.
Yeah.
She had everything.
Yeah, and clearly Barbara, Katz, I imagine, was very aware of Don Draper and very aware, like, oh, you, I know who you are. You're the guy who, But, so I think her sister, she knows all about him, but yeah, she felt it very necessary to say, despite of how you effed her over, she actually things worked out for her. She had
except
she
for,
wanted.
Sadly, the leukemia.
So there's that bit, but there's that small detail. But, things worked out for her. She had a lovely family and a lovely life, so F you, Don Draper.
Basically, you can take your cake and go.
I also got like a hint of jealousy about her sister, maybe.
You think so?
Yeah, just a little bit.
All these men fawning all over her.
She had the husband, the kids, and all these great things, and then she also had the affair with like Studley McStudlerson or whatever his name is.
I get that. I see that as well.
Just a little bit of it, but also to remind Don that you missed out on something great.
So we also are dealing with Di, the waitress, and this whole sequence. This is maybe one of the stranger sequences I think I've ever seen on Mad Men that was not a dream, where he sees this woman and he says, at first like, do I know you? And she says no. He comes back. Roger leaves the $100 bill as a tip. He comes back, and the second time he says, I think I know you.
Is he thinking? Is she reminding him of Rachel? I mean, what is that connection? Because at first I felt like he knows her, and I'm like flipping through all I'm like, hey, I don't know her. Who is she?
Yeah, it could be that she reminds him of Rachel, but more likely just because he has this type.
Yeah.
She is just this ephemeral figure. She is the catch-all of just the woman he's been chasing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, more often the women that he has an affair with.
Right.
Brunettes, basically.
Yeah. So it's implied that she's a sex worker because the $100 bill is left, and then she assumes that was payment for sex. Now the question is, was she a prostitute, or did she just have a very low opinion of herself, and she just assumed the only reason she got left that kind of money is because someone wanted more from her? I did not understand this.
I felt like it was the latter. I really felt like it was, the way they treated her, the way Roger treated her, and which was
Mildred
pretty.
Pierce.
Yeah, it was just completely degraded with the Mildred Pierce comment.
Yeah.
And then to throw the $100 bill as if like, look, this will take care of everything. And then when he shows up, it's almost like these guys, these Manhattan guys, F these guys, I'll never see these Madison Avenue guys again. And then when he shows back up, she's like, I think she just has that low opinion of herself. Like, well, this guy can't possibly be here for me. This dreamboat. He's coming in like wanting something. Like, all right, I'll give it to him. Maybe he'll leave me alone then.
Yeah.
Sadly. So I don't know. Did you read that?
Yeah, I mean, I was thoroughly confused when, like, is this a common thing? Go to a restaurant, leave a big tip, and
have you never left a $100 bill as a tip
and leave a big tip?
Well,
for some of us.
What up? But still.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean?
No, I don't know.
All right, but it's also again like sad and gross.
Yeah, it was gross. Yeah.
It's gross.
But I think it was a lot. It did remind me of sort of getting meta with Don Draper and his relationships. There was, there is something about Draper's relationship that is sort of transactional. These relationships that don't mean anything. That's sort of like sort of his way of, using these women to sort of fill these emotional holes. And I think that this was actually really transactional. The fact that she said, "Okay, well, this is what this is for," and he's like, "All right," and then he did it, and then, he left. The fact that he did it was very, very, very disappointing because it's sort of like he's Don Draper. He didn't have to, but.
It's disposable, but it's just any attempt to escape from his life, any moment where he can feel some kind of love from somebody, because to him that's what love amounts to.
Right.
Is just a moment of closeness, some intimacy, even if it's paid for. I mean, back in season 4, when he was single for the first time after his marriage to Betty, we saw him going to prostitutes and getting slapped in the face because he hated himself so much. Right. And it goes again back to the song. Is that all there is to love? Is that all there is? Yeah. All you need is some money, and then that's that.
I mean, it's all he knows, I suppose. But also, I mean, even like either it's last season or 7.1 or whatever we're calling it, like, like he does turn some of these opportunities down. In fact, he doesn't really step out on Megan at all, except for not really stepping out of the
except for a whole season 6.
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying that like in the beginning of season 7, whatever you're going to call it, when he's lost, like he doesn't go to any of that stuff. But now that he has all this material, he's not necessarily worrying about that. He's going back to, I guess, the only thing that he knows.
Yeah. I guess so. Well, here, before we move on, we're going to really quickly talk about iTunes. Because, folks, the best way to support AfterBuzz TV is to rate and review the shows that you listen to or that you watch on YouTube. It's quick, it's easy, and it doesn't cost you a single solitary dime. Did you know, and many of you do because you watch several shows that maybe I may or may not host, did you know that AfterBuzz TV puts out over 100 hours of free after-show content every single week? It is the widest array of after-show content anywhere on the web. It is 100% free, and we work really, really hard to make that happen. And the best way to make sure that we can continue doing that is to rate and review the shows and to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us get our sponsors that keep the lights on and the doors open, and you get a great shout out here on the show. Great show, great podcast from DeaverDog63, 5 stars. I really love being able to extend my enjoyment of the show by listening to this each week after watching Mad Men. It is interesting to see what they comment on and the insights the hosts bring up. I thoroughly enjoy this podcast, and the hosts very obviously love the show and do their research. It's a very well done podcast. Love it.
Deaver Dog.
Yes. AfterBuzz Mad Men, 5 stars by Leslie Tyndall. Love, love, love this podcast. Brilliant. Thank you. Can't wait. Don't want it to end. 5 stars from Kath0406. I've been catching up on Mad Men episode podcast, and love having the insights you all provide after each show. I can't get enough of the show, so the podcast just extends the joy of watching. I dread the approaching final episodes, but look forward to your input and commentary. Thanks so much. And finally, Mad Men, 5 stars from Andy Bacon Moon.
Bacon what?
Bacon/Moon.
Is he making a moon in the oven?
It's Andy, like Andy McDowell. So lady. Oh,
Andy. Lady. Okay. She's making some moons.
Bacon just triggered my
Bacon Moon.
Yeah.
I just started watching your reviews of Mad Men, Game of Thrones, and Breaking Bad. I love your shows. So glad it popped up on my YouTube feed. We'll be watching all of your reviews of my favorite shows. Will you review The Shield and The Wire? Unfortunately, since those shows have long since ended, I don't think that that's going to be possible. But I do appreciate your support of the network, and someday, somewhere, I'd love to do a Shield podcast.
I love The Shield.
And I love The Wire. They're two of the best shows ever.
I love The Shield more than, I love The Wire more than The Shield.
The Wire is better than The Shield, but The Shield is so thrilling.
The Shield's amazing.
Shield's amazing.
All right.
So,
before we finish with Don, the earring that he finds when he's making out with the girl on the wine-stained carpet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Betty's earring?
No, Megan's earring.
Megan's?
Yeah, Megan's earring.
Which, why is Megan's earring still under his bed 9 months after it's been Kaputsky?
Okay. I think that Kaputsky. Well, this when he flips the light on and we see this apartment, this sort of empty, very empty, sort of bachelorized
he shuts
apartment.
It back down.
He shuts it down. It just feels so empty and cold, and you get the impression that Megan left. He's just barely sort of keeping it up, but it doesn't feel homey. But then the earring is sort of proof that he hasn't really done a deep dive in sort of changing things around. He's not there. Mm-hmm. He's gallivanting around. He's bringing broads back to the spot, and that's it.
Well, it connects back almost to what Ken's father-in-law, played by Ray Wise, says. Who says I'm going to be at home at all?
Right.
He stays at the office, or he's going out with these women.
Yeah.
He's not really putting any work into this home because it's not a home anymore. It's just where he sleeps.
Right. And also one last thing on Don. The school teacher was Miss Farrell. He left her in the car. Left her in the car, and then even Midge. Back in season 1, I think it was. He said, "Let's go to Paris." So, in the long line of Miss Farrell and Midge and Rachel Katz, do you think that Diane, obviously she's that type, but do you think that, I mean, I'm getting into predictions here, do you think that like this is something that is sustainable, that this is the one, or is she just one more of those ladies who is the unattainable thing? Like he kind of wants her, but he really doesn't.
No, I think we'll never see her again.
Really?
I really and truly do.
I don't think so
No,
either.
Diane.
Also, because I think that she was used in a smart way to drop that, like when people die, everything gets mixed up, and we just had Bert die, and maybe he's trying to make sense of that.
But she did say, "Don't do this to me, man. Like, hey, like don't. And he's like, no, I just want to sit here." And he's like, okay,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for Diane, man.
You're rooting for Diane? Well, let me ask you this, because so many people assume that because of all the death imagery and allusions to death in this show, and this sort of overwhelming, looming dread, that Don will die at the end of the series.
I can't buy that. 'Cause we've been saying that since season 1, that he's the guy in the falling out of the window, and this is sort of his thing, or the show will end with him jumping out of a window, or he may die. But look, Matt's ended the season twice. Don lived both times. It'd be really weird to say, you know what, maybe he dies and then kill him. I don't know. Maybe he does, but that's a real left turn from what Matthew Weiner's been doing. I don't know.
I just don't see it happening either. But I think he predicted his death in the earlier half of the season, or not his death, but basically that he's going to end up alone. And he'll end up alone with no one, and he's just kind of further down. He'll have money. He'll be a success. He won't just be the son of a whore and all these kinds of things. But I don't think that he's going to have anyone.
See, to me, it's not necessarily... I don't know that he's going to die at the end of the series, but I also wouldn't consider it a left turn. Because it's all about this existential dread, this fact that no matter what he does, if he can't find the secret to his happiness, which he very well may never do, he will end up alone, and then he will die. He doesn't have to die on the show for him to have died figuratively. And Dick Whitman is already dead.
Right.
Don Draper will die, too.
It's a good point. I do see, or maybe there is the death of Don Draper and he goes and lives a life with Dick Whitman. I mean, I think that to me that would be the only way.
I would love that.
That would be the only way that he can really sort of find that happiness if that happens. Because this life as Don Draper, as you said, it is full of dread. These last 6 seasons, we've seen him sort of in pursuit of something, in pursuit of the ideal workplace situation, the ideal woman, the ideal marriage, and none of it's worked. And now we see him really at the top of his game. With everything, all the money in the world. He's single. He's got chicks everywhere, and he's still not happy.
But I wouldn't even call that the top of his game because he doesn't look engaged by anything. Not by work, not by women, nothing.
Yeah. I wonder, but I do wonder, like, what this, how this ends for Don Draper, and I do hope that it ends with him sort of cocooning out of, breaking the cocoon of Don Draper and reemerging as Dick Whitman. I don't know.
I think that would be wonderful. Or he finds his happiness in work, which is not happiness.
Or we fast forward to 2004 when he dies alone in a nursing home.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying.
No way.
All right, let's talk about Kenny Cosgrove. Kenny Cosgrove, who at times has been a punching bag on this show, lost an eye.
At times.
Literally punching bag.
Literal punching bag, lost his eye, and screwed up his leg. He's given so much to this company, and then they just toss him out like old garbage as soon as they can. As soon as his father-in-law steps down from Dow. And I love this scene with Ray Wise. It's like almost kind of creepy in a Twin Peaks way. And he was on that show as well, where he's like talking about I'm taking up cooking.
Oh yeah, what'd you make?
I made this
what's it called?
What do you call it?
Yeah.
A Pop-Tart, Ed.
And it was really good.
It was really good.
I think it's just Ray Wise's ability to deliver anything he delivers feels like it harkens back to Twin Peaks. It's like him talking about Pop-Tarts is like, oh, that's so creepy.
He's got this very specific kind of charisma that's kind of unnerving.
Yes.
Even when he's not being used to be creepy, it's just sort of like there's something odd.
Yeah, it's like a used car salesman meets a child molester meets I don't know what.
The devil.
Something, the devil.
Yeah.
No,
He was the devil on Reaper as well.
But Ken's got a great wife, and that's a great show. Reaper was a great show.
Great, yeah.
But Ken's got a great wife.
Amazing wife. To tell you to quit your job and pursue your dreams. It does help that we have a lot of money, so you don't have to worry about that part. But still an amazing thing to go and chase down your dreams. You're miserable at your job.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he takes umbrage. He takes umbrage to this. He's like, whoa. Why don't you go write a book? And I'm like, what is wrong with you, Ken?
It's like a 4th grade response. You're the one with the book.
You read a book.
He's just stuck in this cycle. He's like, I just want to stay until I can find out whether or not I got this raise. And I'm just like, that's just empty, man.
Yeah.
You have money. What's the point?
Yeah.
And then the very next day, fired because he stole all that Bird's Eye money, the Bird's Eye account, back in season 4 when he came and joined SCDP.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not happy with Ken at the end of this episode. Now, don't get me wrong. The first time I watched it, I was really, really pleased when he marched back into Roger's office with
Triumphant.
Pete, and he's just like, "I'm going to be your client, and I am difficult."
Yes.
It was probably like the biggest fist pump moment for Mad Men. It's yeah, can you go get yours?
Kid.
Oh, but wait, you've given up on the writing thing.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: Did you think that moment where Roger fires him, were you feeling like, well, he kind of deserved this, and he had it coming, or were you like, oh, Roger, he really screwed him? I mean, what did you feel? You felt like
I felt that Ken has given far more to this company than just about anybody else.
Exactly.
Given his eye.
And just he doesn't care at all, Roger.
Well, so I ask you. So why is this not? Why are you then so disappointed in Ken when he comes back and says, "I'm gonna get my revenge"? Why is that then disappointing to you?
It's disappointing to me because he has the out. He has the out right there. Go and live your life. It's a sign. He says to Don, it can't be a coincidence. It must be a sign. But it's not a sign to dive back into the corporate pool, not with 2 feet, but with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, where it's saying, look, I'm not leaving advertising, but I'm also not but I'm not staying where I should be. Do you know what I'm saying? Where he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out instead of
he judges his father-in-law for working for a big chemical company and basically just being a corporate guy and that sort of thing. But also the reason that he's, I think, not pursuing his dream before is just that he really, for some reason, cares about besting those guys. And ultimately, that becomes more important to him, is to best them rather than to be like, you guys are going to treat me like crap? Fine. I can go over here. We've got plenty of money. I can go chase down my dream. Even my wife is supporting me, but it's way more important to best these guys. It felt great.
Yeah.
I loved it. But at the same time,
but the life not lived.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That he's the one who tags it in the episode. And now he'll never know.
And now he's choosing not to live it.
And then the meta thing. Mad Men works best. Why I love Mad Men the most is it's just a fantastic workplace drama, right? The workplace drama stuff is fantastic. And all these guys and women as well, Peggy being the most, Peggy and Don being the most like this, are married to this job. And this is their life. And it's sort of, with Don, no matter, all of his pursuits and all of his everything else, he's the happiest. It always comes back to the work. Same with Peggy. It always comes back to the work. And I guess this is another thing, like even with Ken, when given the opportunity to go out and live this wonderful life and write a book and do whatever he's going to do on a farm, he still chooses the work or the idea of the work. And maybe it's just something about the seduction of this world, of the advertising world. Maybe it's just all they know. But this is what all these guys, Pete, all of them, this is what they all choose. Even Joan, they all choose this. They've all had their outs. They've all chosen this. I think I don't know what that means in sort of the meta Matthew Weiner examination of the workplace, but this particular workplace, but it draws them all back.
Well, it's the same thing that happened to Don from season 6 into the beginning of season 7, where he had the opportunity to take the authentic life and to try to reinvest in his kids, recognize that he's got these kids that he could have a relationship with, that he has enough money, that he doesn't need to work like he's doing, that he doesn't need an advertising job, that he could be authentic, and then he can't hack it, not even for a couple of months, and he's right back in selling his ideas back to Sterling Cooper through freaking
tags,
Joel Murray,
banging out tags, and
Freddie Rumsen,
Freddie Rumsen, he clawed his way back into that. You're right. That's he could have completely, especially ending season 6 by bringing his kids to the house. He could have completely turned and invested in them. He was even getting paid. He was getting paid a salary. He didn't have to work, but he was getting paid a salary. Like, if anyone has that job out there, I will take that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. But in any case, Ken, he's going to be a client, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy it for a little while. Hopefully, it works out for him in the long run.
Right.
We got to talk about Peggy. Sure. Unfortunately, we're low on time, so we still got to talk about Peggy and Joan. So Peggy and Joan are dealing with this Topaz account. Legs are a thing. Hanes legs in the eggs,
which I'm old enough to remember. Unfortunately,
yeah.
Do those not exist anymore?
Legs still exist, but not the egg.
The egg's gone.
The egg's gone.
But I remember the egg in the 80s.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Even the 70s. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So Peggy is approached by Mathis, one of her copywriters, Johnny Mathis.
Did we know his first name before?
No.
I didn't think I ever knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Mathis.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's hysterical. And he has an odd request. He wants to set her up with his brother-in-law, Stevie. And she's resistant. And finally, she and Stevie go out, and it starts out super awkward. But what I love about Stevie and what I love about Stevie with Peggy is that he sees her for her, not for some amalgam of traits or qualities, not for like trying to be some kind of symbol of femininity or women in the workplace. She tells him, well, I didn't go to college, I just started right out at work, I was a secretary. And he's like, that's interesting.
Right.
And she's like, that is? Like, I feel like most people would look down on somebody for not going to college. And they have this, like, very weird tete-a-tete over
the veal.
Which, like, I don't understand not being freaked out about not getting the meal that you ordered. I don't think you're being a prima donna to be like, I'm sorry, I didn't order this.
Right.
Very polite. But he says, I have two options now. Either I have to be a prima donna and get what I ordered, or I have to eat this veal and look weak.
Right.
And he says that, Johnny said you'd be like this, that you didn't really take any crap. And she's like, what else did he say? And he says, you were funny and you were fearless.
Yes.
And this is, I feel like, the first person to really see her that way and to treat her that way. And she takes charge. And she's like, you know what? I love veal. But there was a review I read where they said, if you didn't listen closely, it almost sounded like she said, I love you. Like the way that, if you say it quickly, I love veal.
Yeah, I actually thought that.
Yeah. I thought that too. And maybe that was a trick in the writing, playing with the diction there. I love that whole sequence. I love that. I love the idea of Mathis sort of. I just picture Mathis like really just in his room, like thinking Peggy's just the best thing in the world. And she's so strong and and then really admiring her brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is so great. He's this great lawyer.
He's so handsome.
Let's put him together. Like I like the idea of him really.
Well, he was not in for it. His wife was pressuring.
Well,
it.
sure.
She was putting it on.
And but then I also love Drunk Peggy, first of all. I love Drunk Peggy's one of my favorite Peggy's. Like
Drunk Peggy's
Sober
awesome.
Peggy the next morning with the Alka-Seltzer is just a drag, but Drunk Peggy was great. Yeah. And you're right. Like, Peggy's a woman who had this sort of like really well-earned rise, in the corporate world, and who frankly, is the boss of men, and hard to find a man that is sort of her peer, let alone, she has in this role, the gender roles here, when she meets the guy, she has to either sort of acquiesce and be the woman which she doesn't want to do, or she has to sort of dumb herself down, and so she continues to be this strong Peggy. And then at dinner she's like, I don't care, I'm strong Peggy. And when he accepted that and then flipped that, it was just a lovely moment of like, oh well, let's switch. I thought that was just it's really well done. I love that. Yeah,
I mean, she's a rarity to be in the position that she's in. Also, all the people that work for her are men, so she's got like a reversal there. I think he probably heard about her being fearless. I think that Mathis was genuine when he said that she was a catch and all this stuff, and I thought he was really interested in her, or interested in being this kind of person. And then I think that she liked that he kind of called her on her stuff there at the table, and so she sort of saw him as like a guy that wasn't just going to acquiesce, even though she's as strong as she is.
Sure.
And also in contrast to Abe, who pitched himself as like a new wave progressive, but ultimately was just as resentful and misogynistic as anybody else.
Ultimately crazy.
Right. This is a guy who I really actively, I hope things work out.
I mean, after the deal was switched, the Galliano was flowing, baby.
The Galliano was flowing. and a new side of Peggy that we haven't seen maybe since season 2 when she wanted to try some marijuana for the first time. She was like, let's go to Paris tonight. And how, just like, it's great writing, she can't find the passport because the passport is at work.
Yes. Where else would it be?
Yeah, she's so tied to work. That's where it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. What happened to the handsome handyman that was in her place at the end of the season break?
9 months have passed. I don't know.
I guess so. I was hoping something was going to happen.
But maybe that's when he says you're old fashioned. She's like, I've tried new fashion. Maybe that was some of the new fashion.
I assume that was Abe and Pete and all that.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, that's true. Even back in the pilot, what am I thinking? Yeah. But yeah, hopefully this storyline will continue to develop. I just want to see Peggy happy and fulfilled, and that doesn't have any.
Fulfilled. I feel like she's on the same track as Don. I feel like she's ultimately has it's a similar trajectory in that she has these opportunities and these guys and these men, but ultimately she, because of her position, because of her love for the work, she's ultimately married to the work. I don't want her to end up alone, but I fear that that's the track she's going on too.
Well,
I think she doesn't even realize that she hasn't been on a vacation until she's saying it. That she's pursued this work so hard. She's like, the last time I was on. Actually, I've never been on a vacation. Exactly. Or I haven't been on one.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like she still has room in her life and she still has time to correct course. And I think she doesn't need a partner, but if she wanted one, I bet she could find somebody who would be able to give her stimulation both in this relationship and let her have the career that she's always wanted, versus Don, who's never been able to appreciate a partner and has never given the time of day to a partner that could really keep up with him. Like just going back to Dr. Grace, I believe, in season 4. But in any case, let's talk about Joan, who is dealing with just thugs and gross dudes in this episode. One of whom,
gross dudes.
Yeah, gross dudes.
In full disclosure, the gentleman in the middle who had the nice rib about pears
and panties,
and your panties, and he calls them the landing party when they come in.
Yeah,
is an actor named Josh Labar that both Matt and I know very well.
Yes, and it's great to see him here, and he's just perfect.
Yeah, he did a terrific job. The 3 guys in that room were just.
Is he a cad in real life?
No. What?
No, he's probably watching. I love the layers of just grease that these guys are laying on. I read Variety, and Variety called them cretins.
Yeah.
Which just meant that, Josh is not this guy in real life. We both know this, but it was just so creepy. So creepy.
Very.
Oh, it made me so uncomfortable, which is some great acting.
And poor Joan, who's finally climbed to this position of power. And Peggy brings up a good point in that she's loaded. She could quit. She could do whatever she wants for the rest of her life. But she's worked so hard. She's clawed her way to the top, and she's not going to give away the power that she has. But she has to sit here and just take this crap from these guys.
She's a partner.
Yeah. And she has to take this crap because even though she's a partner at this company, technically they're her bosses because they work for the company that owns them.
Yep. It sucks.
It sucks.
And if you think about the way that she became a partner, she's never had respect at this place that she works.
It's true. And even Peggy throws that in her face. She does this blame the victim bull crap where she says if you didn't dress the way that you do, which calling all the way back to the first episode of the series when Peggy tells her, go home, take off your dress, put a bag over your head and figure out what your best assets are. It's this utter role reversal where then Joan is like, well, you never dress like I do because you couldn't handle it anyway because you're ugly. And I'm just like, what?
Well, not for anything, just very quickly, the significance of that dress, her buying the dresses at the end there. Matthew Weiner also noted that the one person that sort of hasn't had the real fashion evolution aside from Dawn is Joan, and not for the reasons that Dawn has, but for Joan she's clinging on to that thing that made her the sexiest, whether it's college or not college, but high school age. She's clinging to that look, and now we're seeing that sort of look backfiring on her. So maybe it's a thing that she's really trying to. Now she's seeing that now and trying to evolve out of that into something else, and hopefully that's what the trip to the dressmaker was about. I don't know.
Well, she just buys more clothes that are very Joan. But if Christina Hendricks or Joan, or whoever we call her, dressed in any different way, there's there's no hiding certain attributes that she has.
She has giant boobs.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
made it plain.
Yeah.
But also,
Pale skin.
she goes to the same department store that she worked at when she left Sterling Cooper several years ago.
That she could buy.
Yeah,
she
that she-
almost does.
Yeah.
Buying everything inside.
She's buying everything in sight, and the woman says, didn't you used to work here? I could get you the employee discount. And she's like, no, you must have me confused for someone else.
Yes.
And she's mirroring this Don Draper, this utter shunning of who she was. I am now this person, and this is who I'm going to be from now on.
Not only that, I can afford it. I don't need a discount.
Yeah.
I'm rich.
And I want to flaunt what I have.
Right.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have any more time to talk about Pete and his vision of California that was a dream.
Yes.
Hopefully, we will get to talk about it next week. But right now, we got to do quick predictions.
Let's do it.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Joey Joe.
Man, geez. I have no idea what's going to happen. I will say that I do say just mildly, I do think we'll see Diane again.
Yeah.
So I think that she'll be a constant. I would like to believe that that's who Don will end up with, but maybe I'm just dreaming.
Okay.
Dick Whitman and Diane went off to California to do their thing.
I don't think they have chemistry like that.
Yeah, don't think so.
Me neither.
Obviously they keep so much under wraps on this show, and even like the next week's episode is just a bunch of disjointed clips where you can't really tell what's
as usual
gonna happen. I will say the Peggy and Stevie thing, not just because their names rhyme, maybe a thing. I think Roger's also going to keep that mustache the whole season.
Oh, I hope so. God, it's gorgeous. It's
Colonel
perfect.
Sanders-esque.
If he would have had a stash in the 60s, it would have had to been like a short pencil mustache, and I don't think that works with the white hair.
Yeah.
That's why I think it had to be long and flowing and beautiful. It was wonderful.
It's perfect.
It was perfect.
For me, I think we gotta check in with Megan. I think we're checking in with Megan next week.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to California. I don't know, man.
I mean, what about Betty and
Betty and the kids?
yeah, and the kids and my man?
I don't care about Betty and Henry. Well, it's Henry Francis. He was super nice when we met him at the season 6 finale.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I care more about what's going on with the kids, and I want to see Don get back to that place he was at the end of season 6. I was so happy for him then, and then to have him so utterly forget about it is hurtful.
Yeah.
Well, but he also they had the moment where Sally said that she loved him in the car. So I think we're going to revisit that as well.
Good.
Yeah.
All
I hope
right.
we do.
Right.
All right, folks.
I will say that Roger Sterling and Stan win the 70s so far, though.
True
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ted Shaw.
And Ted Shaw. He's got the stash.
They win the
He's
70s.
partying in the village.
Yeah.
At the Vogue
Ted
party.
Shaw might win. Okay.
All right. Folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We will be back here every single Monday until the end of the season, 6 weeks from now. I hope that you enjoy the ride with us. Joe Braswell, where can the people find you?
You can find me here at AfterBuzz doing The Blacklist in about 2 weeks for the final 5 episodes of that show, 4 episodes. Also here doing Bates Motel, which is a fantastic show, rounding up, and Hannibal coming in June 4th, and here at Mad Men with you,
Yes.
Matt Lieberman.
All right, Isaac.
Well, thanks for having me, fellas.
Yeah,
It's great.
absolutely.
Great to have you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson, Instagram, The Isaac Johnston. You can check out my YouTube page, also The Isaac Johnson. You can see everything I've ever done for AfterBuzz and my music video.
Yeah.
And me at Joe K. Braswell on Twitter and Instagram.
All right, and you can follow me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. Follow my YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Matt Lieberman, doing advice content 4 days a week. And hey, I'm doing the season finale of Better Call Saul this evening. So if you're watching live, watch that in just one short hour. Just one short hour. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all I'm doing for right now. Oh, and Orphan Black is coming back.
Yes.
So thank you all so much. See you next week. Good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.